Connecting. So, this is Bill Wooditch on the Home for the Unstoppables. Today we have a very, very special guest. His name is Hank Norman. And on the Unstoppables, Hank's going to help me today where we unravel the mysteries of business. One unstoppable guest at a time. The unstoppable Hank Norman is a partner in Two Market Media. He's got a not so silent partner, and I know him well. Hank was going to help people cut through the noise to get attention. In the late 80s, he got his first job at BET, and then he went on to King World and helped pilot and produce The View with Barbara Walters. He helped launch the Oxygen Network, and I'm getting intimidated just reading this, where he was an on-the-air cross-media correspondent reporting on what was going on all across Oxygen's online properties. He's my friend. He is the unstoppable one, Hank Norman. Hank, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
I'm doing great. Today we're going to talk about someone who is unstoppable. It's Donald Trump. And we're going to talk about what makes Donald Trump unstoppable.
Great. Why do you think that is?
Well, I think he's got not only the book that backs up his will, the book will, but I think he has a predetermined mindset. And I think that mindset and that focus on what it is he actually wants with clarity and that voice that's so strident that he's got an opinion that you either love or you detest is one of the ways that he's unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm finally happy to have somebody come from the TV world and literally take over the world. Everybody wants to find success in business and otherwise, and they don't understand that the tools that you have to learn to be great on TV, to be great on reality, to be great on the radio, to be great on a podcast, those are business skills. That's connecting, that's selling, that's dominating. Dude, he's the president of the United States. He's a reality TV star.
There's hope, Hank. There's hope.
It's a great way to look at the world. You have to understand that those ways of making yourself known and what you stand for and how to push for it, those things that TV taught Donald Trump are the reasons he's president today.
Help me with this. How do we get ourselves known? What are some of the social media vehicles or other vehicles that you use to get people known?
Well, let's go to the Donald. Look at he is a great role model in this area. Twitter is the number one way to get you and your ideas out there. And it's not just about getting them out there, Bill, as you know. It not only gets you connected with your audience and it's that feedback loop, and I love it. Anybody tweets me at Hank Norman, I tweet them back. I'm having a conversation all day long. As my day is going on, as conference calls are going on, I'm in constant contact in a feedback loop with my audience. That's amazing.
Yeah.
The second is, those 140 characters, I love to help my clients understand that that's a great way to focus what you stand for. In 140 characters, you have to be clear and concise about what you mean, what you stand for. And it's that soundbite world that we live in.
Right.
That's another reason. Why do you think Make America Great Again is such a resounding win for him? It's actionable. It's a great advice. It's great opinion. It catapulted him singularly to the presidency.
Right. Good point. We're going to do this at home. We're going to count the amount of times you say right. You haven't said it yet, but I want the audience to get out a piece of paper.
We have a drinking game?
Oh, man. I don't know if I want to take that bet. Hank, you say that you can't market your business, your brand, or yourself from inside the box. I think I have an understanding, but give me some clarity. What do you mean by that?
Well, everybody's shy. I mean, I think the biggest, I live in New York City, I live in Manhattan, as you, very nice of you to read my credentials. It's a normal career path for me as just somebody that came up in TV and was lucky enough to be in a couple of the right places at the right time of launching the Oxygen Network, launching The View, and being in these cool places. And what I've seen over and over again in working with talent at every level is people are scared. Like, they think being in the public means you have to be nice to everybody and you want everyone to like you. So particularly in business, people go, oh, I don't want to offend anybody. So they take this bland, vanilla approach to who they are and what they stand for. And again, what Mr. Trump has shown us time and time again on a daily, if not minute-by-minute basis, is that's not how you sell. You sell by separating yourself from the pack, by standing for something, by breaking through the noise. There's so many people saying so many things in your field, regardless of what it is. You not only do you have to be saying it, and you have to be saying it differently, you have to be saying it in a way that shows me you're unafraid, that you really stand for something, that you're on a mission. So
we have that fear. We have that fear of being. We want to be liked. So
Yeah.
there's two big boxes of fear for us. There's loss and there's change, and we fear loss of self-esteem. So if we put ourselves out there somewhere outside of the norm, we think that we're in that mode of survival where we're going to be subject to perish. It goes back to the instincts of our days of the on the savannah, where we think if we're ostracized from the herd, you know, we're subject to peril. And it's that herd mentality, I think, today that offers us no distinction if we have it and follow the lemmings. We have to stick out there. We have to have an opinion, but we also have to do something else. We have to be able to handle failure. This show is the Unstoppables. No retreat, no surrender, always forward. But to move forward in life, we have to fail. Give me a Hank Norman failure story.
Mine?
Yeah. Well, I'm not talking about mine. I have myriad stories, so give me yours.
Okay. Well, personally, life for me, I experience it, I think as everyone does, but I don't think anyone talks about it the way I do. I experience failure on a daily basis. I experience that fear of attempting to do something. I actually do look at it that way. Growing up, I've always, the reason I'm behind the scenes is I'm a failed performer. Even though I was on TV for 2 years, when I was at Oxygen, I ended up on air for 2 years. Ultimately, what I am is a failed performer. I'm career because somewhere in my mind and that overlap between having done it, like I've done stand-up comedy, I was on TV every single day on live broadcast for 2 years, and I was just like, this wasn't what I wanted. This wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I wanted it. I was too scared to actually do it as a career or profession, but I came into TV through the back door because I was like, let me sneakily figure it out by being scared, and I was scared to take the risk of doing it. And until I was thrown into it, and I ended up on air as an accident. The first day Oxygen went on the air, a producer didn't have an expert show up in talking about computers or technology or something, and they go, Hank, you do the segment. And from that day on, I was on air every single day doing the technology segment. And I, as a lazy, scared, fear of failure person, ended up on television because I was scared to do it, and I happenstance tripped into it because I was very afraid of failing at it. And I was a complete failure, by the way. Back to the miniature version, dude. Right. Go to my Twitter feed or go to my YouTube page. And have you ever seen my sizzle reel, my highlight reel? Have you? I know Kelsey has.
I have people. I have Kelsey's laughing. She's in studio. She's my collaborator. She's laughing because she has seen that. So that's on YouTube. Hank's got a ponytail then. He's clipped it off.
Oh my God. A ponytail was the 90s, dude. I was at Oxygen at the time was a .com, and I had hair down past my shoulders. I looked like a retard. Talk about a failure. I looked like a failure. I was a failure. Wait till you hear. You think I'm talking fast and incoherently now. Wait till you see me for the first couple of months on television.
So there's hope for me yet. There's hope. There's hope. His Twitter handle is @HankNorman. If you want to test that he doesn't respond, he does, and he puts out some lightning-like and some actually thought-provoking tweets. I'd love to follow Hank. Hank, let me ask you a question about failure.
Let me ask you now.
No. Here we go.
I know you both as a media personality and as a business person.
Right.
You have a very interesting way of doing business, and I was, before you asked me, I was thinking the same thing as you were talking about how to act in business. Where did that come for you? When did you go from I'm just going to try to make it to I'm not going to be afraid anymore, I'm going to turn it on and dominate business in that way and not really be scared what people thought of you?
Well, the interesting word that Hank said was interesting, because I think that's one of those words we can take either down any kind of slope we want. For me, it was this. I always wanted to fit in. I wanted to be liked. So I had this tremendous weakness, this need. It was a need to be liked. So I was the ultimate politician. I was Switzerland. I was always in neutral form, and I really wouldn't express an opinion other than what maybe to form my shape and thoughts around clients or prospects or some people that worked with me. So I was really growing. There was a disconnect between my inner happiness and my external behavior, because I was trying so freaking hard to be liked. And then one day I got it. An attorney came into my office and he said to me, Bill, would you still jump off the top of a tall building just to be liked? And I said, F no, but I do need to be appreciated. And there was a switch where I actually started to learn about my own value. I knew what I was bringing to the table. I said, I'm good enough. I've got to have my life my way, or as close as I can to my way. And I just had a tremendous need to be appreciated. And if a client didn't appreciate me, Hank, even if they paid me six figures personally, I would fire the client. And that's the honest truth. And when I made that when I crossed that Rubicon, I never looked back. For me,
How old were you?
I was probably 34, 35 at that point.
Right.
So 2 years ago. But that's the first. That's the first right. We got one down. But that's what I did. You know, Hank, I think so much of it, and we talked about this before, is that philosophy becomes mindset, and then mindset becomes a way of life. I didn't like myself. I didn't like myself when I was going around kissing everybody's ass. I didn't like myself as a sycophant. I like myself when I'm doing something that's in alignment with what I believe. And I think we have to maintain that value of self, and that's a sacred place that we can't give up. So that's really what it was.
Yeah. No, I'm relating it to my experience. It's very similar. And I was in my 30s as well. So
Yeah.
it's funny how long everybody thinks it's like you want to start it today, and you either want all that success in your early 20s when you first get your career going. It's like, it doesn't.
Yeah, and Hank, this is the thing. You know this, but everybody can talk about values when there's no money on the table. And then the bigger the pile of money gets, sometimes the values get a little bit more gray than black and white. But I will tell you what a CEO told me. And he was a very sage CEO that used to, he was a Fortune 500 CEO. He said, let me tell you something, son. At the time I was in my 30s. He said, you're going to start making money when you're able to walk away from it. And I didn't know what he was talking about. And then what I coach and what I learned later is that you've got to like yourself, or you're going to end up hating your business, hating the thing that feeds you, hating the thing that you really gave birth to. You've got to be able to get up, look in the mirror, and really like that person in the mirror. And I didn't like myself when I just needed to be liked.
And what gets you to the point, or what got you to the point where you were able to walk away?
Well, more money. It was to be realistic. But there was a point when people were asking me to do things where I felt like a circus animal. And I felt like I was a puppet on a string where jump and I was how high. And so we were put out on we're an insurance brokerage firm. And what we do is compete every year for business. And there was a client we had for 8 years. And all of a sudden there was a new regime in place where they tried to bring in their people from the past. So there was a new CFO. And they wanted their past relationships to come in. So the president called me and said, we're going to put you through what's called a broker selection process. And I said, no, you're not. I said, no, you're not. And this particular client paid us $100,000 in commission a year. And I said, you're not. We've given you our resume. We've lived our resume. We've delivered on every promise. I quit. We resign. You'll get my formal resignation today. He said, no, wait. And everything changed. There was no competition, and we kept the account. Now, that's where I really learned to value myself, and I think you've got to be able to do that before you can ever make money. You have to be able to value yourself.
Yeah. What was the risk level of walking away from that guy at that time?
Well, probably a down payment on the Ferrari. We'd lose $100,000.
It's easy to have a bravery when you got a safety net. That's easy. I'll do that all day long.
Well, I don't know if that was really a safety net. I mean, $100,000, $100,000, because those are new hires. So you're really walking away from something based on your pride. That even though if we were in the competition, we had a good chance. There was 3 people, so we had 33 1/3%, maybe 66 2/3 of a chance to actually keep it. But I just didn't like the way that felt. And so I walked away from it. But like I said, you've got to be able to, for me, I started making money before I could actually walk away from it. At first, let's face it, you're in effing survival mode, baby. You gotta crawl. You gotta have to do some things that you probably don't want to do because you gotta pay bills. When you're able to get beyond that survival mode, you're never gonna get to thrive unless you first survive. Hey, You got people, you got mouths to feed, you got people looking at you, their families, they're depending on you. You're going to have to do some things that you're not going to have to do later. That's the reality of the situation.
True, but from my personal experience as well, I've walked away from things when I had no business walking away from them. Principally, I couldn't. I was not going to stay in that situation, and I had to remove myself. Like in business,
Wait. What does that
I'm
mean?
the worst businessman in the world. I'm more principled. Like I'm stupid. I don't. The thing I teach people, and this is what kind of makes me not the best media coach, is because I have an expectation of people to just deliver their opinion, and they're like, I don't know how, and I'm like, I don't understand someone that doesn't know how to stand up for what they believe in or something that is part of them. Because I don't have that fear personally. I'll say anything to anybody. What are they going to do?
Is this the point when you start pulling your hair and spitting and stuff? Is that
exactly?
I've experienced that before. I think I said that.
It's hard for me to teach something I don't have any, because I'll just say I gotta say what I gotta say, and what the reason I know my system works is I do teach it, I do use it, it does work, but getting someone who it isn't part of their DNA, like I know Donald Trump learned a lot by coming up 14 years in reality, but he already had a DNA of a businessman that pushes, like he already came out, he got honed and hardened in television and media, but to me there is a part of, I'm not sure everybody can learn to be brave enough to speak their truth and stand up for themselves and walk away from something if they're not emotionally and or financially capable of doing that.
And sometimes discretion is the better part of valor, and also intelligence sometimes has to take place, and you have to look at your business and say this to yourself too. Hank is an outlier, and Hank can walk away from things. He might have the attitude that I'm going to walk away, but not everyone that's in the audience can, because there are times when we have to give compromise on some of the things that we hold close to us, not values, not beliefs, but there's some concessions we have to make in business, that initial compromise to build our business. We're not really in a position to pick and choose until we are in a position of strong cash position of a company that's known and it's reputable and it's built, or the brand that's built that way. And I just think that's a tough thing for a lot of people, because some of us are in positions where we are politicians before we're media stars.
And I agree with everything you say, Bill. I understand it. I just don't. Maybe I don't agree. Like I got the biggest jumps out of my career, like taking those risks, like whether they were reckless or not. I mean, I was still going to eat. Like I was still going to land on. I mean, I walked away from jobs when I had no other job just because principally I wasn't being treated or paid what I thought was what I deserved, and I won't stand for that. And should I have gone about things differently in the moment? Sure. Do I regret having done it? Not really. I had the biggest gains from taking that risk in that moment.
Hank, greatest teacher. Don't say experience. Greatest teacher for you.
So not experience being a person?
Yeah, a person. Greatest teacher.
I don't have a. Do you have a single person? I don't have a single person.
Yeah, his name is Steve.
I never latched onto role models.
I think his name is Steve Carless.
Yeah.
Boy, I guess I'm in the bottom of the class. Greatest teacher as an experience.
I mean, those. It sounds hokey, and I know you're. It's those trials and errors. It's the risk. It's the thing that I didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. Getting on air for me and being forced into doing this thing that I kind of wanted to do, but I was too scared to do it. Being on air taught me everything. That's what in that ensuing months where I would see myself on the monitor when I was doing a live show, and then finally the show went into repeats. So for months I didn't even see myself on air.
Right.
And then I had a monitor on my desk, and the show went into repeats later in the day, and I saw myself. I was like, oh my God. And the biggest teacher was me seeing me of how I was as a person, communicating, just how I was coming off and interacting with other people, the connection I was making with the person I was sitting next to, with the connection I was making with the audience. And in that moment, I was so horrified at how fast I talked, and how nonsensical I sounded, that I wasn't completing sentences. And I whatever is the best free coaching you can ever get in your life is to make videos and watch them back.
Excellent point. Excellent. Say that again, please. The best free coaching you can get
is to turn your cell phone on yourself, talk to camera, and say things that you care about. Say your opinion about what your business is, what your mission is, how you're going to change the world. Talk to camera as if you're talking to a customer. Talk to camera and make me care. Understand that you're looking in that void of that lens, and in doing that, you're making a personal, deep connection with somebody watching that. And when you watch that video back and to see where you're falling short, here's the thing, dude. You'll change as a person. You'll change as a human being. Because you're now like, oh shit, I'm falling short in my job of actually communicating how I feel and what I stand for. And you'll change. I changed. I'm not the same person. I don't lead my life the same way. I don't talk the same way. I interact with other human beings differently.
Yes, powerful. It's powerful for most of us, or some of us. It's difficult because our ego gets in the way, and we want to be liked. And we're circling back to what we talked about before. We want to be liked. We want to be popular. So we're very reluctant to have an opinion if we express our opinion, if we even have one. So many of us get our opinions from reality TV, from others, and we don't spend the time on ourselves to actually form an opinion that we can stand on and believe. And that's my thought, Hank. I don't know what your thought is on that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
That's mine. He's the founder, partner of Two Market Media. His name is Hank Norman. Hank, do you have any last question for me before I have to sadly go?
We're done already? I'm just getting warmed up.
Well, throw something at me. Let's talk about your childhood. Let's talk about where you got this I don't give a shit attitude. I think that's the start. You know, when's the first time you thought, I really don't care what people think about me? I mean, did people beat you up in life or what?
Yeah, of course. We all somebody. I was crazy picked on.
Did you ever start? When did you start fighting back?
I used the performance and comedy and other tools. I was small growing up, so yeah, I didn't rely on physical prowess. I used comedy and other things to get out of it or make up for it later. So that was the natural born. I became a performer out of necessity just because I had to figure a funny way out of getting picked on.
Well, you know, we all have ways of dealing with our bullies in life, and I wrote a book called Always Forward. And in that book, I talk about bullies chasing me home from school, tearing that baseball hat, that brand new hat I had off my head. And my father in the garage, you know, it was a woodworking garage, and he was dusting off the sawdust from his forearms. He was 6'2", 240 pounds of disciplinarian. And he looked at me and I said, Dad, they beat me up. I'm out of breath, you know, and I'm a scrawny little kid, kind of like Hank. And I've grown since then. We don't drug test here, Hank. Anyway, so he said, you know, son, in life, he said, you got two choices. You can stand and face your fear. And those are the bullies in life, or you can run from them. But if you run, you're always going to be running. So I learned from that point forward to build myself up, not only physically but mentally, to a point where I would see my shit for my shit, see my stuff for my stuff, and deal with it. And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of us is we've got to be able to see our own stuff. We got to be able to deal with it. We don't, I don't go to drugs. I don't go to other places where I'm trying to deny or delude myself of the reality. You got to deal with it, man, and that's just how it is.
Was that your primary driver for the reason you work out today? What created that habit or that pattern for you?
Just want to look good at the beach. No. I get a real feel, and I really think this. I think that we have to be physically prepared to do those things that our mind would wish, hope, and then make us do. We got to be in that position where we can cash those checks, with our body. And the physical image to me of an impression when I walk into a room is very important. And I think it's got to be followed with a mindset that matches. And I think that's been very important, that mind-body connection for me in creating the image that I now live as a reality. And by the way, you only have 3 rights so far. You've been so good right now. I can't believe it.
Only you said it, I controlled myself.
Wow. You've only said right 3 times.
Yep.
So, anything else for me at this point, Hank?
No, it was a pleasure.
No, let me tell you, I know I'm going to get yelled at about this from someone, but you were fantastic. We can
I
find you.
appreciate it. You too, man. It's a great. What you're coming to embrace, Bill, is this side of you that because I've seen you at work, like you as a leader, and you in the room full of people. It is hard to get the piece of being on air is you want to embody that energy that you have when you have a room full of people, and that's the journey you're on.
Yes.
You do have this natural magnetism, leadership, particularly in a room full of people, and you're now just growing into your own of how to actually manufacture that, how to bring that experience that everyone has of you in the room, and you do a lot of public speaking, and how to bring that energy to here, and that's what makes what I love about you is you see the potential and the power that this medium has, and you're now playing with how do I get that same energy in this small room, in this space. Like we're not together. We can't really feed off each other. This is the training. Like this is the
Right.
difference between good and great. This is understanding that performance is the next level of communication, of getting people to really get on your emotional and energy level. I love that, and you're doing an amazing job at it.
Thank you. And Hank talked about this. He said this is a journey. It is. It's a journey. It's a process. It's failing. It's learning from failure, and it's great coaching. And he's one of them. He's the brilliant Hank Norman. He's been our guest, our very first guest. You'll always remember your first, and it was Hank. Only 3 rights. I'm a little disappointed. Kelsey lost the bet. We thought you'd at least break 10, but what say la vie. We'll wait till next time.
Thanks, Bill.
Catch him at Hank Norman. Hank, thank you very much. That was great. That was great.